All right, we are back after a very tough loss to the Packers at home, and we're just jumping right into it. Tom just wanted to get it started, and I always like to kick it to him first. So, Tom, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I don't like when you kick it to me,
You
but
just wanted to start it up. You're like, let's get it going, man. I thought you had some energy going into it.
oh, I always I'll always bring the energy. Okay, I just have so much going on in my head of this game.
You're saying you
Uh,
wanted to be positive, right?
yeah, I want to obviously we all know we played better. Um, Thomas Brown
Covered.
came out, simplified the offense. I thought um, we got all of our playmakers involved. I noticed DJ Moore got the ball, Cole Kmet got the ball, DeAndre Swift had some big runs. And we use Roshan a little more, which I love to see. I noticed that, and just Keenan Allen making play, Caleb Williams playing better. Everything on the offense looked completely different, in my opinion, and that was nice to see. What do you guys think about the offense overall?
They didn't have Jair Alexander, correct? For pretty much the whole game
Yeah, he didn't play at all.
Yeah,
at all. Okay.
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
I thought the offense looked good. I mean, like you said, we got some running plays there, which I like to see. Kind of gets the offensive line moving downhill. I didn't think there were too many huge. I mean, Braxton Jones trucking that guy in the
that
open
was
field was
nice.
pretty nice.
Yeah.
He did have a few tough spots where he whiffed on blocks as well, but didn't pick guys up. But yeah, I think overall it was a big improvement there.
It was like night and day watching it as a fan. I was like,
yeah.
really, I didn't know what to expect with Thomas Brown becoming the offensive coordinator. But like Luke said last week, he had something about him that I had a little bit of confidence in, that he could turn it around a little bit. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, but it was like finally something that I enjoyed watching, which was nice.
Yeah. I know I've talked a lot already, but I've been a big proponent of the play calling, and just to kind of back those up, it's a 72.1 grade from PFF, and then for that's for pass blocking. For run blocking, we had a 70.8. Quite a bit of an improvement within the last few games. We were at 56 for the last couple of games in run blocking from the PFF grade, and for the pass blocking, 65 and 67 and 56 the week before. So.
Yeah.
Improvement across the board there. So
Caleb Williams got the ball out so much faster this week.
True.
Yeah, offensively, obviously much improved from the previous 3 games. Luke had mentioned last week he kind of had Caleb on a short leash personally, and he mentioned if he wasn't able to get the ball out quickly, given the change of offensive coordinator, and having come into that game holding onto the ball longer than most of the quarterbacks in the league, if he's continuing to do that, make a change. So I think Caleb tuned in. He listened to Luke's message.
Yep, 100%.
Because he was getting the ball out quickly, especially at the beginning of the game. At the end of the game, he was improvising a little bit, and successfully as well. I mean, if you look at that last drive, what Caleb did to get the team in field goal range for an opportunity to win the game on a last second field goal was really impressive. We saw him do that in the Commanders game as well, drive the ball down the field, take the lead to hopefully secure a win. And, obviously that field goal gets blocked. Another thing that I'm coming back to with that is Cairo, great kicker inside 50 yards. But we know he doesn't have the biggest leg. You look around the league right now, it's being defined, at least in terms of kicking field goals, of these guys with huge legs. And when you think about guys that can kick like that, their trajectories are a lot different as well. They're getting the ball up in the air more quickly, and it's much more difficult to block those field goals. So, just another kind of minor thing that the coaching staff and the GM can look at, and the fans can point to and say, why are we not evolving with the rest of the league and looking at one of these guys that has a huge leg that might give us a little bit better chance to make that type of field goal to win the game. I mean, Brandon Aubrey kicking that field goal, I personally think it doesn't get blocked, right? Or a guy with that type of leg power. I think they just can drive the ball higher in the air off of the kick immediately to decrease the chances of that kick being blocked. So,
to elaborate on that point, someone with more power doesn't have to worry about they don't worry about trajectory. They kick their kick because they can kick it far. When you're kicking a 60-yarder with Cairo in Madden, what do? You don't aim up on the left joystick. You press that bitch down to get a little more distance, right? And sorry.
I just feel like as a coaching staff, for us okay, what was there? 35 seconds, 40 seconds? I don't remember what it was, but I remember sitting there in the living room saying, what are we doing right now? Like we're letting this we're moving the ball, and it's what, second down?
You're talking about why didn't we take a timeout at the end, Tom?
Well, just run another play to get closer, because I was like, we're not close enough for me to feel good.
Right. And it wasn't a matter of timeouts either, because there was an amount of time where it was just about, do you want to see if you can get a little bit closer? Or do you just want to kick it from here? Because even if you take a timeout, you could still have run again. There was enough time where if you had taken that timeout earlier, you could have just run it again and then spiked the ball.
We tried to run.
It's not like it was like inside of 10 seconds. Like you're saying, it was like 30 plus seconds.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of time that I was like, what are we doing right now? Like, what is he thinking? Like, what? And I just feel like we could have used that time a little better. It's just, I don't know.
He talked about that in the press conference and said, well, we run another play there. We run the ball. There's opportunity that a guy can fumble, we turn the ball over, or you go backwards, get a negative play, whatever. I get that. And, what's if they gain another 2 or 3 yards, whatever, Green Bay is going to be stacking the box.
That's like a lack of trust, though. I feel like
it's a guy calling the game conservatively because he knows he's on the hot seat. I mean, if he does call an offensive play and there is a fumble and they turn the ball over, Matt Eberflus is probably not the coach of the Chicago Bears this week, right? They lost the game on a blocked field goal, so it's not as much on him. His team got in field goal range. He gave the special teams an opportunity to win the game. Obviously, the execution wasn't what it needed to be. I mean, the Green Bay Packers had knew going into that Cairo's leg wasn't quite as big, and he was going to lower the trajectory of the ball to get it there. And so they planned
the penalty and broke the rules of the game, but who gives a shit about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they mauled him, right? I mean, I don't want to make excuses for the Bears, but over the last week, I've watched that clip so many times, and I'm like,
I thought it was the leverage, though. It's not that you can't touch the long snapper; you just can't line up over the top of him, and then they used leverage to lift the guy up to block him. Wasn't that it?
It's just a stupid rule. I think they just need to change something. Like for there to be this much gray area.
I don't get too in this particular case. I'm not getting too fixated on, whether or not there was a penalty, so to speak. It's just more so the Bears could only find themselves in one position at the end of the game, and it's a position that allows them to essentially defeat themselves, right? It's self-defeating.
I'm sitting there watching that last play, and I don't have any hope that they're going to pull it off. I mean, I don't know how you guys felt, but
I was very hopeful.
It's funny you say that, because I saw a clip from an interview that Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football did, and he's a Bears fan, and they were asking about it, and he was like, it was the strangest. It's become the strangest thing, because it's almost exactly what Jesse had just mentioned. We are so down that even in those situations where it's that's the only time throughout the game that you should have hope, even in those situations when your heart gets crushed, it's almost like you're just
You knew it was going to
You
happen.
don't feel it.
Well-
You're just like you're completely desensitized to the pain, and you can't be hurt anymore.
Yeah.
Like all I did was just not speak for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I didn't scream.
My blood pressure had to have been through the roof. But this comes back to Wargo was talking off pod about the stat, and I know it's been going around 5 for 17 in one-score games, Eberflus, since 2022. I mean, that's why we feel the way we do, because we're losing these close games.
Yeah.
So
Worst in the NFL.
Coming back a little bit more generally on the game, looking at the box score. I mean, you look at this box score and you wonder how the Bears lost the game, frankly. I mean, they ran 68 plays offensively to the Packers 43. Didn't turn the ball over. Packers had the one turnover. Time of possession, 36 minutes to 23 minutes. The only thing that really stands out is when the Packers did have the ball, they were able to move the ball very effectively. Mm-hmm. So although we saw a great improvement on the offensive side, the defense has really taken a step back. And whether that's due to injuries or due to morale, or maybe a combination of both, with all of everything that's happened to this team over the last 4 weeks, Jordan Love had 13 completions for 260 yards. 13 completions for 260. Like that's crazy. They're getting big chunk plays. And typically that's not what you would see or what you would expect from this Bears defense, especially that we saw earlier in the year.
I made a note here that I feel like it's obvious now that Eberflus is the odd man out, and that how this relates to what you're just talking about, Jesse, is that we had touched on this last week with this defense in particular. And Wargo made a note on our Google sheet about it. We blitzed 3 times, I believe, is what you had in there, Wargo. 3 times we blitzed, and the rest of the time we're rushing forward. And with a defense like that, if those 4 guys are not getting pressure, we had 1 sack in this game. It's just tough. It's tough for the guys on the back end to hold up. Wargo, I know you also had a note in there about Jordan Love's passer rating. I was surprised to see. I mean, I think maybe like an interception in the red zone like he has a pretty large bearing. I think if you take that out of there, his rating's probably not as bad as it was. Like Jesse said, I mean, they're hitting on these huge chunk plays. He's only got 13 completions, but they're averaging 20 yards of reception.
Yeah, so, Watson killed us.
Yeah, and I think Billings being out in the middle has also affected us in the run game.
Our run defense was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, Jacobs is a good back, but we just didn't.
PFF had our run defense at 77.4 last week somehow, which makes no sense because it felt like every time they ran the ball, especially with Billings not being there, I think they said something in the broadcast, but it was just 8 yards guaranteed.
We don't have big bodies in there, Luke. We need big bodies.
Yeah, the Packers had 106 yards on 25 attempts. So, I mean, modest.
I've been thinking a lot about Ryan Poles recently. And like how I kind of feel foolish given how much excitement I had in what he was doing in the offseason. And then now seeing where we're at and some of the deficiencies that we have. It just, for us to go and decide that the pieces that we needed were running back, free safety, another backup tight end,
wide receiver,
30-plus-year-old wide receiver, who, I mean, Keenan made some plays and he's played all right so far this year, but obviously he's been dealing with some injuries and he's just getting up there in age. And to have not really addressed both sides of, the offensive defensive line is just like, what were you doing? He seems to, as a former lineman, I can't remember where I'd heard this, but with this Amagaji pick, the tackle out of Yale, and I forget what round it was, but I think there were a lot of other sort of better known talents available on the line, whether it be offensive or defensive at that particular point in the draft. And for him to take this guy that no one's really got on their radar, I think is representative of him seeing himself as being someone who can identify talent that maybe other people aren't seeing, or maybe his ability to develop talent, which really isn't his job. That's the coach's jobs. He can say, this guy's moldable. Well, you got to have people who know how to mold. And these people are morons. They don't know what the hell they're doing. So my approval rating for polls has dropped drastically. And we made no moves at the trade deadline, apart from giving Khalil Herbert up for a 7th round pick. We decided we didn't need any help on either line, which just was crazy. But on a positive note, and this will be my last piece here, like you guys have said, offense looked better. Caleb definitely looked more decisive. We had 5 plus 10 play drives, so a lot more sustained drives. It just gives that young quarterback the ability to find more of a groove. If you're just out there for 3 plays and then punting, it's like, how am I supposed to get any sort of rhythm going, right? So that was really positive to see. I think having Braxton Jones, obviously he made like highlight reel play on that pull where he just, cleaned out a cornerback and on the Swift touchdown. And then Darnell Wright on the other side, I think is important for us as well. But another thing was the decisiveness when passing, but also loved seeing what he was doing with his legs. Took no big hits, but was able to make a lot of plays with his legs. And I'm sure that was probably a result of maybe a little bit of coaching from Thomas Brown and him saying like, hey, you've got two options to read here, tops. If they are not there, don't even think about it. Just go. Like you've got that ability. So just I like seeing that.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I think he ran for like 70 yards or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to say something like that.
But little things, the details, like Jesse said, it's. I definitely think Eberflus is coaching for his job right now. Obviously, and
why doesn't he be more aggressive?
Calling a game like he is, but
because he's coaching for his job.
Well, if he was coaching for his job, you'd think he'd be like, "Screw it, let's."
But if you do something aggressive and it works out, if it works against you, then you're gone.
Maybe that's true. Maybe.
Jesse put it great earlier. If they run another play and lose yards and go back further or turnover or something like that, it's an immediate firing. So that's a situation. I agree with what Jesse's saying there. But the fact of the matter is, Eberflus is just he's not head coach material. He's not a great game manager. These little detail things, penalties, not being able to shore up blocking on a game-winning kick. Like these are little details that's a testament to the culture there. Like he's
taking the kick from the left hash instead of the right, where Santos kicks all of his extra points from.
Yep,
that was pretty tough.
Yeah. He also, I think I was listening to something. The drive before we got the ball back for the final drive, we potentially could have, before we gave it back to Love, we could have ended the game if we went for it. Because I think it was 4th down and 3 on our 40. So we were midfield somewhere, but it was in their territory actually. And if we were to just go for that, and we were moving the ball, and if we were to go for that, get it, that game probably be over. There was 4 minutes left. There's a potential that we could have drained more clock. They couldn't have scored. That was something that I thought about too after I heard it, and I was like, oh yeah, that did happen. Just tough. But the DeAndre Swift touchdown, I was running around my kitchen like a little fangirl.
Well, and think about the plays leading up to the kick, like the 4th down conversion, that ball to Rome, throwing with the anticipation, him making a great play on it. I feel like that's what hurt me the most when it came to actually missing that kick, because we did have so much positive momentum.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams in the 4th quarter looked great. I noticed one thing when he does rush, and like I think he ran the ball effectively, as opposed to trying to force throws, and that led to them having to respect his legs, and that opened up a few more things in terms of downfield passing. But he doesn't really run like north south. Like his speed on runs is very slow because he's just juking the whole time. He's not really
the whole time.
getting
pretty good.
vertical.
I'm like, where's
Which
he gonna go?
I
dude?
mean,
I thought he was going to tear his MCL a couple times, but he was all
I
right.
think
all right, let's not put that out there.
To like he does seem to have like he's the polar opposite of Justin Fields or like a RG3, for example, where he does seem to have a good sense of how not to take a lot of big hits when he is running outside the pocket.
Yeah, right.
Unlike Justin, every time Justin left the pocket, it's like 50-50 shot. We're looking at a concussion here. Like it's just like he would get pounded constantly every time he'd run. And obviously he's a running quarterback. There's a higher likelihood that he's going to take hits like that. But I mean, at least from what we've seen thus far, hopefully, knock on wood, this is something that will continue. But it does seem like, to his credit, he does have a good feel for that. I'd rather him be running east and west, trying to avoid these, big linebackers or defensive ends, and not taking them on head on. Because obviously, he's not like Josh Allen either. He's not a huge guy, so.
Get some positive yardage and move on to the next play, I think. All right.
Any final notes?
I did see my improvement. I mean, aside from the 11-0 in the last 11 games against the Packers and the coaching awfulness in the final parts of the game, hi, Savannah, Caleb did not look broken out there, which is the one thing that I wanted to see in terms of the improvement. So I got my wish. So
I agree.
I was happy. Not happy, but when it happened,
it was a devastating loss in my book. I didn't get over that for a couple days. It was tough.
We covered.
I picked the Packers. First week I picked the Packers, or the first week I don't pick the Bears, I get screwed.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Come on, man. It's a Bears podcast, Tom. What's going on?
Yeah, that's fair.
You'll have another chance to pick them this week if you're feeling up to it.
Yeah, the spread's good. Is there anything else?
Spread's a little more favorable. So,
anything else we wanted to get to?
Nope, I think that covers it.
Sweet.
Bear down.
Right. Yeah, bear down. Let's beat the Vikings here. We didn't really look ahead to that game at all, but we'll get it in the picks.
We will in the picks. Check us out.
Thanks for watching.